Stevie, this isn't the first time, is it? We've seen from Jurgen Klopp the cracks appearing from his happy, friendly personality that we're kind of used to. And I suppose it's a lot easier to be that shining, happy guy when you're winning. When you're losing, it's a lot harder.
Yeah, listen, I've said previously that I think he has opened his mouth too much, he's complained too much, he's moaned too much. But all of those have been when he's had time to think about it and actually rationalise things. Straight after a game, when you're asked a question and you've just lost, I can assure you, you talk about being prickly. I don't personally think there was that much wrong with the question, but I can understand why he got prickly about it, and I'm sure he wanted to get in the guy's face, not just throw a comment at him. So I would suggest that he gets a little bit of leeway here, Dan, because this is straight after a game, and straight after a game, particularly when you're coaching and you're sat on the bench and it's your team, you see things a lot differently for a period of time between the game finishing and maybe 3 or 4 hours later, when you've had time to digest everything, think about it, look at stuff. You have a more realistic picture of what actually happened. So I do in some ways have a little bit of sympathy on this occasion, because it's straight after a game and it's straight after a defeat, and a big defeat.
But you admitted, Steve, it's not a stupid question. It's not a niggly trying to get in on your skin. It's, do you think you can catch City?
Yeah. It's the timing of it, Dan. It's the time of the question. It's straight after the game. He probably understands that there's going to be some questions like that, and he doesn't want to answer them, and it makes him feel bad. He's emotional. All of the things that will be going through his head, and some poor character is going to ask the wrong question at the wrong time, and then he's going to get it. But it is straight after a game, so again, you got to have some sympathy with Klopp. Come on.
Don?
I've got a little bit of sympathy because he is emotional, and that's why we love Jurgen Klopp, good and bad. But I just think he's been like that for a little while, Dan, and I think he's frustrated, and I think he actually can't put his finger on what's actually gone wrong. He's trying to field his strongest side. 3 home defeats on the spins, just not been heard of for a long time. They're losing to all the bottom sides. They can't get wins. They've got no momentum. Just when he thinks he's cracked it, when they win a couple of games in the capital, they lose then against Brighton, and it was a bad loss. It could have been 2 or 3. And he's probably looking at it thinking, where does this team go? And probably what can I do a bit better, rather than just having to go at the pressmen. The pressmen are there to ask a question. Now, I've never stood there in a technical area answering questions after a game. I know I'd be terrible. I know I'd be emotional. But he's a professional manager, and he's been in the dugout a long time. He must know these questions are coming. When you're 10 points behind Man City with a game in hand, it's not that ludicrous of a question to ask Jurgen Klopp, are your team done, in terms of winning the league? I didn't think it was that far-fetched of a question.
We're talking, Don, and you sent me... Go on, Steve.
No, I think in some ways, this situation Liverpool find themselves in, a lot of it is not about coaching. He will be frustrated that he can't actually help his players, because there's only so many things he can do. He can sort out the way they play and the personnel and all these things, but he can't go on and play for them. He can't go on and put the ball in the back of the net or make a challenge. And when you've got a bunch of players right now where too many are off form, that is really frustrating for a coach, because you're helpless. All you can do is encourage them. With the forwards, you can do drills to get them to hit balls in the net, to give them some confidence. But in this situation where he has particularly the injuries and he has to make decisions that he doesn't want to make as far as personnel, he feels helpless, because it's not a coaching thing. It's not.
Don, you sent me through this thing talking about the amount of games that Liverpool players have played since 2018, percentages. They've played a lot. We know they're going to play a lot. You're a big team. This is what happens. You have to rely on your stars, and that's just part and parcel of chasing Champions League, of chasing Premier Leagues. And surely you've got to say you've got to manage that better, and can't just point to the fact that everybody's tired.
No, that's a good point. I was just letting you know, and looked at the facts since 2018. The majority of players, the first team players, have all played in and around 90. Andy Robertson's played 94% of the games. I think Firmino's at 90, Sadio Mane's at 90, Mo Salah's at 94. So I think what it is, it explains why, just in case anyone out there's thinking, well, why are they tired? Is that really a fact? Because loads of players play a million games, but this team's been together now for 3 years. And I think that's why Jurgen Klopp was trying to bring Jota in. He was trying to bring 1 or 2 players like Minamino in, just to try and at some point, lessen the amount of games that these guys have been playing. It is what it is. Liverpool have got the success because they've been a good side and they've been a brilliant, probably 12 or 13 players. But what they're not, Dan, is they're not Man City. They're not Man City where they can draft 18, 19, 20-man squad and make a ridiculous amount of changes because that's the money they've got. Liverpool just haven't got that sort of resources. And when he tries to make a change, I was at the West Ham game commentating on the game, and he played Divock Origis off the left-hand side, and he played Shaqiri as a false 9 and Mo Salah on the right. Even though they won the game, they were terrible for 45 minutes. And when Origi comes off the bench to try and make an impact, he's a cult hero. The goals that he scored, he'll go down and, he's a legend at the football club, but he's not good enough to start games or have an impact in the majority of games. So I don't know what's going to change. And when Stevie said there, it's not a coaching thing. Well, you can't just put them in a 4-3-3 every single week and go on, go and play because you're good enough players, you'll figure it out. I just look at Jurgen Klopp now thinking the players actually need you to maybe do something different because what you're doing right now is not working.
Stevie?
I think we've got to be very careful. A couple of weeks ago, I think it was at Sheffield United beat Manchester United.
Yes, Stephen. Yep, 2-1.
And the first thing we said was he was disrespectful to Sheffield United because of the team he put out. So we got to watch what we say because Jurgen Klopp, I'm sure, on many occasions wanted to maybe play some other players, but wants to make sure he wins games. And so this is a fine balancing act between making changes and upsetting the rhythm of the team. We always kind of make things really simple, really clear, when they're actually not. And that's a perfect example. Manchester United don't play a couple of players against Sheffield United, get beat, and all of a sudden everybody's saying, oh, they completely disrespected them. They took this game far too easy. So just be very careful when we're talking about this, because when you're Liverpool, when you're Manchester United or Man City or anybody else, you have to win. And so when you're the coach, at the end of the day, when you're picking a side, you better make sure that this side wins. And that makes it very difficult to start making changes all the time.
I think the difference with that one, though, Stevie, is because Man United had Arsenal a few days later. So I think what Ollie tried to do was rest a lot of his big players.
But it doesn't. The premise is the same, Don. It doesn't matter. The premise is the same, though. We're saying that Klopp hasn't made enough changes, but then Man United go make some changes, they get beat, and then we're all over them, saying they've disrespected the opposition. So it's not simple. It's very, very difficult. I know he gets paid a lot of money, but it's not easy.
Stevie, as much as we have applauded Liverpool's recruitment and the players that they've brought in, Don brought up someone who we've discussed a lot, Divock Origi, obviously a hero for Liverpool in the past. You said it was ridiculous to give him a new contract, and it is a little bit ridiculous when you take a look at the big picture of Liverpool Football Club fighting to be one of the best teams in Europe, and their backup striker is him.
On the one hand, yes. On the other hand, a player who wants to play, particularly when Liverpool were recruiting, isn't going to go to Liverpool. I mean, seriously, particularly a younger player. Listen, in my opinion, Liverpool should have gone after Cavani. And he's shown just why now for Manchester United. But it's not straightforward. You're either getting an older player, but if you get a younger player, then he's going to, I'm talking 18, 19, a guy who's still got some maturing to do. And that's why Origi fitted the bill, because he scored some goals. He could do it now and again. He could come off the bench and contribute, but he's never going to be a starter. And at least now and again, he could play. That's kind of where it fell for Liverpool with Origi, because who do you get? Who's going to come and join Liverpool when the front three of Firmino, Salah and Mane is about as good as it is in the world? Who's going to join that team and think they're going to get a game? There's not many.
Steve, I don't know how long we've been talking here at the start of the show. Are we overcomplicating everything. If Virgil van Dijk was fit, if Matip was fit, if Gomez was fit, are we in a different world?
I think absolutely. I think Xhaka pretty much was spot on the other day when he said, look, if you take Rodri right now, if you take Rodri and you take Gundogan and play them at centre back, it completely changes everything. Completely changes everything. You know, we're looking at with Fabinho and Henderson playing where they should be playing. Completely changes everything that Liverpool do. It changes the way they close the ball. It changes how quickly they get the ball back. And probably as important as anything else, they stop, those two in particular, stop anybody from getting anywhere near the back four. As good as it is when everybody's fit, they stop people getting to the back four. That is a simple explanation, and that would make an absolutely gigantic difference. Listen, if Liverpool had 6 more points, we'd be saying they're still in there. There's still a chance. It's only 4 points. It's only a game and a draw, and the way this season's going. But the truth is, it's not. The fact is, they don't have a central midfield that could do what Klopp wants them to do, and he doesn't have a back line, i.e. centre backs that can do what he wants them to do. So we shouldn't be surprised when they're losing games.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.